Today I'm here to talk about effective instrumental practice techniques. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to be demonstrating on a piano. But these techniques and these concepts are transferable to almost any instrument. So you've heard that practice makes perfect, but I'm here to tell you that perfect practice makes perfect. If you have ineffective practicing techniques, it can really take you a long time to complete the process of practicing and to accomplish your goals. It can also be very frustrating, and it can actually do damage to your progress. So how do you practice perfection? I'm here to show you a few tips and tools on how to do this. First, you want to use a metronome. Metronomes always provide assistance in various ways. They can keep you from rushing when the part gets easy or slowing down when things get difficult. They're the little person that helps keep time and helps keep the beat while you're learning difficult rhythms, somebody to count for you. They also help you to slowly speed up your practice incrementally. And you do want to practice in small increments or bars or measures. Don't try to go from upper left to lower right at the fastest tempo. You've got to break up the increments into sections or measures. Practice slow to fast. This helps your brain keep up with what's going on with your hands, and it helps solidify your fine motor control. Increase the speed slowly. Make sure that you increase by very small metronomic markings. It's time-consuming but invaluable, and it is time well spent. Repetitions are very important. And remember, don't increase the speed until you can do the difficult passage 10 times perfectly. Perfect repetitions are the key to success. Overlap your sections. After mastering a difficult section, try getting into it and out of it smoothly by overlapping sections. Start a few measures before the difficult sections and then end a few measures afterwards. This will help you transition in and out of these sections smoothly. It's very important to take frequent breaks. Practicing can be very taxing and stressful and tiring. Make sure that you take breaks to rest both your hands, your back, your lips, whatever you're using for your instrument, and especially your brain. Take a 5-minute walk, get a snack, get a drink, get some fresh air, and definitely stretch. This can be an intense time, and it can cause mental and physical fatigue. Memorization is very beneficial in reinforcing what you have learned through your practicing. Continued review over long periods of time will help solidify your memorization. That's why we practice every day. Don't try to cram one day and then come back to it in a week. This daily and even 2 or 3 times daily, even if it's a small amount of time, but the daily coming back to it and reviewing memorization can really help solidify what you have done and undergird all of this practicing that's been going on. So what does this really have to do with my brain? There have been a lot of studies out, but according to Brain Rules, formal music training improves intellectual skills in several cognitive domains. So this is going to be beneficial to you on so many levels. Let's learn a little bit more and see some visual demonstrations of effective instrumental practice techniques. Again, I will be using a piano, but these concepts do translate to all instruments. The first thing you need to do is make sure that you have a working metronome. If you're on an acoustic piano, There are many metronome apps that you can get for your iPhone or Galaxy or any kind of device that you have, and you can use those. A lot of digital keyboards have a metronome in them. Here is my metronome, and you can see it has a little metronome icon, and if I push it, I will hear the metronome click. And you can see I'm at 70 beats per minute. If I want to raise or lower that, I simply use the plus or minus keys. So now you can see that I've sped it up to 100 beats per minute. The triangle indicates the downbeat of each measure so that you can stay on. You can also change the meter of your metronome on many digital keyboards so that you can have the triangle every 3 beats, every 2 beats for 2/4, or every 6 beats for 6/8. Metronomes can provide assistance in various ways. First of all, they keep you from rushing or slowing down. Now we're going to talk about practicing in small increments or measures, or bars as we also call them. In approaching your piece, don't try to just go from upper left to lower right at tempo. Break up the increments into sections or measures. I'll give you an example of a piece that I might want to do this in. It's a sonatina, and it goes like this. Okay, now obviously the beginning is deceptively easy until we get to those scalar passages. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my metronome very, very slowly. Let's go down to 55. And I'm not going to start practicing at the beginning because, again, that's very easy. But I need to practice the scalar passages at a slow speed. So here we go. May need to start even slower than that. But once I've been able to accomplish this at least 10 times perfectly, then and only then may I move up the metronome. And watch, I'm only going to bring it up about 3. And again, I'm not going to start from the beginning, but I'm going to start at the difficult part. So I do that 10 times. Then I go through the same process again. I'm going to bring it up about 3. And here we go. Okay, now as you could see, I sometimes use the wrong fingering, so I would want to go back and correct that. Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to get the brain to allow our fine motor control to be set without letting the brain knowing what is happening. So if I tried to do the passage at 61 and then said, okay, that sounds pretty good, I'm going to try it again, but I'm impatient, so I'm going to bring it up to 102. Okay, I can get very frustrated because that's just too fast. My brain has not had time to adjust. So I know it's time consuming and really laborious, but take the time to just bring up the metronome incrementally. It's going to take you some time, but it is well worth the work. Again, don't always go from upper left to bottom right. Take a few bars before the passage begins, the difficult passage that we're talking about, and only go a few bars after. So I might start here. And make sure that I've got that down, and maybe a little faster. So I'm just getting into it barely. What that does is that smooths out the transitions so that we don't do something like this. Okay, that's not helping your brain. Your brain is going to get trained to slow down at the difficult parts. So you may want to start this getting into the difficult part and getting out of the difficult part slowly, just like you did the difficult part. You may want to set the metronome slow and then go to fast. Again, you're probably thinking, this is going to take forever. It might, but it's worth it. And it will save you so much time on down the road, and it will save you frustration, and it will also save you from becoming known as a sloppy player, which we don't want to be known as that.
Did you know that every time musicians pick up their instruments, there are fireworks going off all over their brain? On the outside, they may look calm and focused, reading the music and making the precise and practiced movements required. But inside their brains, there's a party going on. How do we know this? Well, in the last few decades, neuroscientists have made enormous breakthroughs in understanding how our brains work by monitoring them in real time with instruments like fMRI and PET scanners. When people are hooked up to these machines, tasks such as reading or doing math problems each have corresponding areas of the brain where activity can be observed. But when researchers got the participants to listen to music, they saw fireworks. Multiple areas of their brains were lighting up at once as they processed the sound, took it apart to understand elements like melody and rhythm, and then put it all back together into unified musical experience. And our brains do all this work in the split second between when we first hear the music and when our foot starts to tap along. But when scientists turn from observing the brains of music listeners to those of musicians, the little backyard fireworks became a jubilee. It turns out that while listening to music engages the brain in some pretty interesting activities, playing music is the brain's equivalent of a full-body workout. The neuroscientists saw multiple areas of the brain light up, simultaneously processing different information in intricate, interrelated, and astonishingly fast sequences. But what is it about making music that sets the brain alight? The research is still fairly new, but neuroscientists have a pretty good idea. Playing a musical instrument engages practically every area of the brain at once, especially the visual, auditory, and motor cortices. And as with any other workout, disciplined, structured practice in playing music strengthens those brain functions, allowing us to apply that strength to other activities. The most obvious difference between listening to music and playing it is that the latter requires fine motor skills, which are controlled in both hemispheres of the brain. It also combines the linguistic and mathematical precision in which the left hemisphere is more involved, with the novel and creative content that the right excels in. For these reasons, playing music has been found to increase the volume and activity in the brain's corpus callosum, the bridge between the two hemispheres, allowing messages to get across the brain faster and through more diverse routes. This may allow musicians to solve problems more effectively and creatively, in both academic and social settings. Because making music also involves crafting and understanding its emotional content and message, musicians often have higher levels of executive function, a category of interlinked tasks that includes planning, strategizing, and attention to detail, and requires simultaneous analysis of both cognitive and emotional aspects. This ability also has an impact on how our memory systems work. And indeed, musicians exhibit enhanced memory functions, creating, storing, and retrieving memories more quickly and efficiently. Studies have found that musicians appear to use their highly connected brains to give each memory multiple tags, such as a conceptual tag, an emotional tag, an audio tag, and a contextual tag, like a good internet search engine. So how do we know that all these benefits are unique to music, as opposed to, say, sports or painting? Or could it be that people who go into music were already smarter to begin with? Neuroscientists have explored these issues, but so far they have found that the artistic and aesthetic aspects of learning to play a musical instrument are different from any other activity studied, including other arts. And several randomized studies of participants who showed the same levels of cognitive function and neural processing at the start found that those who were exposed to a period of music learning showed enhancement in multiple brain areas compared to the others. This recent research about the mental benefits of playing music has advanced our understanding of mental function, revealing the inner rhythms and complex interplay that make up the amazing orchestra of our brain.
So I hope you have learned a little bit about music and how it affects the brain, and also how you can harness these great techniques for effective practicing so that you can become a better musician and better instrumentalist.